Oh god, did you eat all this bullshit?
As if you were ever electable, you fascist skid mark on the underpants of democracy. Oh, Pete, sneaky Pete, you actually thought you had a shot. With all the charisma of a pile of old prawn heads stuck to a sack of authoritarian gristle. Even the Queensland Constabulary knew you were dodgy. You're a man who looks like he chews glass recreationally, and when you weren't visiting petrol stations or entering cameraman, you were wheezing out culture war farts and grinning like a pig on payday. Remember how you shunned the concept of living in Canberra? And you were already midway through planning renovations in Thurbilly House, Pete. Do you remember, Pete? And it's not even like you were running against Bob Hawke, resurrected in a messianic blaze. And quite like Albo, but most Australians couldn't pick him out of a lineup of mildly depressed Qantas pilots. That's how deep the loathing ran. You and your whole scavenging syndicate of alt-right culture war necrophiles. We saw the bloodshot whites of your eyes and said, no, not this time. Into the flaming skip bin of history you go, clutching your Sky News talking points and your sweaty little dreams of boot-on-neck governance. So, what the hell happened? The tectonic plates of Australian politics didn't just shift, they rumbled. For the first time since the white man imported British rule to this great southern continent, a first-term government had a swing in its favor. That doesn't happen. It's like seeing a dingo return a lost baby. 19 seats flipped red. 12 of those went to women. Real ones, not Murdoch's inflatable decoys. Meanwhile, independents held their turf with iron fists and warm smiles, and even gained ground. No doubt, millennials and Gen Z overtaking the boomers as the predominant voting demography has a huge effect on progressive politics serving Dutton, a cream pie to the face baked with equal parts rage, redemption, and human decency. Him losing his seat of Dixon and therefore ejecting him from politics entirely is the sweetest cherry on top. The revolution wasn't televised, it was live streamed through cracked iPhone screens and vape clouds. A glorious digital stampede. And the Liberals, their lowest primary vote in the known history of Australian elections. Lower than Dutton's empathy levels. Lower than the depths that Jacinta Liza Price would stoop to remove all the images of her wearing a MAGA hat off the internet. But why? Because Australians, doped up on sport, cheap credit, and rubbing the sleep clear from cultural amnesia, suddenly saw the future. A Lovecraftian vision of Trump's America, screeching about woke agendas, banning books, riot cops, a wannabe bloated war hog with nuclear-powered dodgy submarines and blaming trans kids for everything from climate change to mortgage stress. And then there was Dutton, a man carved from the same satanic mold as Dick Cheney, but somehow with less riz, a haunted potato with delusions of grandeur and the political instincts of a cold sore. He was the final ghost in this Christmas carol from hell. And Australia, sweet, sometimes confused, racially inconsistent Australia, woke up in a cold sweat and recoiled. This wasn't a vote for Labour. It was a full-throated, bloody-knuckled purge of everything that stinks of Trumpism. That diseased stew of grievance, fear, and fake masculinity, cooked up in some talkback meth lab and served with a side of evangelical bile. The spell broke. Rupert couldn't buy it. Gina couldn't drill it. The whole gang of billionaire oligarchs and rage-bait broadcasters threw everything they had at us, and it bounced off like rubber bullets on a brick wall of collective decency. And what did Australia say? They said, no, we are not your 51st state. We are not your next Florida. This was a middle finger to grievances governance, a refusal to let bitterness pass as vision. Whether the rotting husk of the coalition takes the hint remains to be seen. But Christ Almighty, if they don't, they'll be fighting Pauline Hanson for a scrap of votes in the Centrelink carbon. And now, Albo's standing atop a red tide. He stands blinking in the sunlight, blessed not for his brilliance, but for simply not being you, Pete. He didn't win this by charm alone. He was the beneficiary of a national exorcism. But now he has a mandate, the moment, the chance. Housing's still a mess, the planet's still on fire. China is sharpening knives while shaking hands. And Clive Palmer, that gout-ridden Jabba the Hutt of SMS spam, he spent in excess of $60 million dues to buy the nation's contempt and got 1.9% of the most brain-dead votes and a migraine in return. But the morning after, something did shift. Australia felt softer, smarter, less full of bile and xenophobia. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment we remembered who we are. And if we owe Trump anything at all, maybe it's this. He showed us the abyss. And finally we decided not to jump in. Australia just dodged a bullet, spat in the face of fascism, and danced on the wreckage in thongs and high vis. I will attempt in time to be gracious in victory, but for now let me revel. We didn't just win, we humiliated you. And it felt fucking fantastic.
No. What we do in Australia is we treat people with respect.
I want you to address it seriously, Jacinta. At the time that Donald Trump was sending shockwaves around the world, disturbing.
Okay, so if you don't think that I'm addressing this seriously, I am addressing this deadly seriously. In that, if you sling enough mud, it will stick. And absolutely, Labor, certainly the media, slung enough mud in terms of this particular issue. You made it all about Donald Trump. We really couldn't care less about the way Donald Trump is governing for America. We were concerned with the way Australia's being governed under an Albanese government.
Jacinta Price,
The man that won he's very good. He's a friend of mine. I can only say that he's been very, very nice to me, very respectful to me. I have no idea who the other person is that ran against him. And, you know, we've had a very good relationship.